Good morning, God bless, and happy Father's Day. Beautiful day for any man who's a father and who I hope takes being a father as seriously as I have learned. And frankly, as someone who is admittedly, by definition and language, especially now considering where I'm at, I would say I was the worst possible version of a father that I could be. And considering how I now feel about God and how I feel about fatherhood and how I feel about consciousness, it is absolutely the most egregious period and the most regrettable phase of my life. That anything and everything that I did that preceded how I now feel about being a father, and by no stretch perfect, but I do mean present. That's what I want the message to be around. Presence, not perfection. Presence, not perfection. Because that's somewhat arbitrary and subjective. And I want to do my best to be objective relative to what I think this day means. And it took a long time for me to appreciate and understand this, contextualize it, and emotionally mature relative to this title and responsibility. I think quite natural in the God space, we think God the Father. And I do think God is Father in the way that God is Mother, in the way that God is all. I don't believe that there's a specific man in the sky who looks like us. I think that is actually a disservice to the God I believe in. I also couldn't tell you how to explain and contextualize the vision of God, the image of God, because it is infinite. Our insistence on describing it is just merely a reality of our flawed nature relative to consciousness and ego and self-centeredness around having to visualize and see. We as finite trying to portray and describe the infinite, it's unfathomable. But I do believe God is the Father that way because God is all. God afforded us the image of fatherhood the way he affords us the image of motherhood and all other images that are available to us today. So I think about Father's Day, and I used to look forward to it for very different reasons. And one of the things I used to do that I could rely on 1,000% was that I could sleep in on Father's Day. And sleep in is not 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I'm talking about into the afternoon. I don't know if I woke up before 3 o'clock. And this was Father's Day. I earned it. I was to be celebrated, which also meant really I could be excused from fatherly duties. You understand what I'm trying to say by that? I would believe that this was a day where I could be unbothered. You celebrate me by leaving me alone. You celebrate me by allowing me to be present when I felt like it. I'll come out. I'll eventually show myself. You can sing me praises. And 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 what's deeply powerful and really what I find now I'm disgusted by that I used to do, your family will accept that. Your wife and your children love you so much that if you decide to sleep in on a Father's Day, they'll still celebrate you, they'll still hug you, and they'll still get you one of those shirts that say number one dad, which I don't. I'm not the number one dad. I'm the number one dad for my children, the way I can really only give advice to how I father. I don't know that anything I do would scale, other than I really recommend that you be present because I've learned it's the most regrettable thing I've done, which is I hadn't been there for years. So fast forward to today, Father's Day 2025. I've been up for hours. You know this already if you follow me or follow with me. Not for the grind, right? Not just for the grind, but for God. I prayed deeply to God today. I thanked him for fatherhood. I thanked him for displaying fatherhood to me. I thanked him for the message he gave me years ago. I prayed for my family. I prayed for presence. God, family, presence. It's nothing that I don't do regularly, but today I emphasized. I think one of the realities I had come to with days like this is I sort of despised the nature of, oh, let's just celebrate fathers on this day because, everybody's doing it and let's highlight it. But one of the beauties I've learned, sort of like in the professional space, I've learned to take vacations during holidays. And the reason is because if you believe in consciousness and that collective consciousness, we talked about building circles and we talked about that your consciousness and their consciousness creates a world of consciousness for you. Imagine the world today fully focused in on fathers. So people are walking out a little more focused on fatherhood. It brings up the level of consciousness around fatherhood and God the Father. I'll take that. It's beautiful because we're all sort of emanating the same conscious level of attention and focus. And so in that way, the world is kind of relaxed around fatherhood. The way on Mother's Day, the way on Christmas, New Year's, we're all focused in, not all, but relative. We have the same conscious stream as far as let's focus on what the day tells us to focus on. We can take advantage of that as people. And you might see some, you go to the corner store today, the bodega or Target or Walmart or wherever you go. And if you show up with your kids, somebody might say Happy Father's Day because we're heightened on it. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. It gives the world a reason to celebrate. But let me tell you how I used to open up Father's Day and why I slept in so late. I used to get massively drunk the night before and check out. Like I did every night, right? I was a functioning alcoholic, but I knew that Father's Day would let me sleep in with an excuse. So I used to get hammered, extra hammered, because I knew I wouldn't be bothered. Imagine that. I used to think presence, we talk about not perfection, but presence. Presence was just showing up occasionally. I was sort of like the heavy, the disciplinarian, which now my kids, I don't know if I could get angry enough and show a face. They just laugh at me because I don't do that anymore. Right? And I would show up occasionally in a way to say, to get very loud and obnoxious, to shut them down, to be like, yo, I'm here, shut it down. That's not presence, right? You in my estimation, you're overpowering them. You're instilling fear. You're essentially telling them when I show up, shut down. So I was showing up, not present. I was even absent in my presence. I'm trying to explain this, man. I don't know that I'm just losing my mind or I've been able to make it work for my family, which is why I'm very specific. Like, yo, it works for me. Try it out for you. I don't know. But the way I talked about before, that my father, God bless him, he made the decision that he made, and like a lot of latchkey children in my generation, raised by single mothers, it is what it is. That's obvious absence. You're not there, but you can be right in front of your kids, teaching them absence by the way you shut them down, by the way you don't give them a voice, by the way you sleep in, and they're looking for you, and they may not be boisterous about it. And it may not be super obvious in words, but their energy, their soul, they're looking to be nurtured by a father. I was not doing that. I was normalizing me being away from you while in the same house. Do you hear what? Oh man, I can't. This is big for me. The sickest part about it, at least to me, I thought I was still being a good father. Why? I was in the house. I was and am paying bills. I got food on the table, right? That's that whole, I'm bringing home the bacon. I get firm when I have to. I get loud when I have to. I showed up when I thought I had to. But that's not presence. That is not presence. Because God showed me unequivocally, undeniably, unambiguously, and undoubtedly what presence is. And presence is power. Presence is also exhausting. Presence is all the time. That's why I get up earlier. Yes, I have to work on myself. Why do I work on myself? So I can be available. So I don't shut them down by shutting myself down. That's essentially what we're doing. I shut down because I want to shut them down, because I want to shut it down, because I don't want to deal with it. I don't have the tolerance level. Why don't I have the tolerance level? I don't practice presence. So when I talk about being quiet and sitting in stillness and letting all the self-doubt, the anxiety, the stress, the overwhelm, the knowing all the fractures in my brain, the fractures in my thoughts, the fractures in my soul, I sit with that. I let it balance. Why? Because when my daughter gets loud or my son gets loud and things get a little confrontational, I get heightened. But I understand how to balance myself now. It doesn't always happen. Presence, not perfection. I've learned that stamina is spiritual. So I work my body, yes, because the biggest reason, yes, I want to look good in a tank top, but the really real is this: I don't want to die any earlier than I have to, yo. Straight up. You drink every night, you get the big gut, the dad bod. It's not so much, and it's that I couldn't even lift them up the stairs. That's one thing. But I had no stamina. I had no physical stamina. So I had no spiritual stamina. I had no mental stamina. I had no emotional stamina. So you're trying to create a kingdom, but a kingdom is not a metaphor. It's a model. You have to model the kingdom. They are a replica of you. They are a mirror of you. They are a reflection of you. And when you come to consciousness on that, and you realize how long you were absent, and then you start to realize within yourself some of the fractures and the breaks and the things you have to fix, and then you look at them and you say, yo, they're just a reflection of me. I taught them that. I'm teaching them that, and they're taking that out into their conscious world. So now when they make decisions, they're making decisions against the model of the kingdom I help provide. So when we fret as parents to release our children, and my daughter's 15, is coming sooner than my wife and I like to realize or appreciate consciously. She's going to make decisions. My son, he's 3 years behind. He's 12. He'll get there. He's going to make, we all got there. Decisions are going to be made without us. So I have to provide a kingdom, a model that helps their decision-making processes. Why? It builds their level of consciousness, their level of spirit, the level of connection to God. So when I get up and I listen. I go in silence to listen, to clean the temple, to father the atmosphere before my kids even open their eyes. I set the ambience, right? I set the tone. I set the spirit of the house. That's predominantly why I do it. Oftentimes when I'm in prayer, when I'm in meditation, I'll share with you, it's intimate to me, but I'll share with you how I go to sleep and how I wake up, right? Thank you, God, I'm alive today. For peace, love, health, happiness, and safety, I say to God, my creator, my infinite, for peace, love, health, happiness, and safety, here at, and then I say my address. I'm not telling you my address. I pray for the address of my house to have peace, love, health, happiness, and safety. For my wife, I say her name. For my son, I say his name. For my daughter, I say his name. I pray for peace, love, health, happiness, and safety. I do that when I go to sleep, and I say that until I fall asleep. I do it when I wake up, when I say, thank you, God, I'm alive. Then when I'm sitting down in my prayer and my meditation, when I'm sitting down in my position, when I'm sitting down in my corner, when I come downstairs, I visualize myself in the front of my house, creating a field of peace, love, health, happiness, and safety. I don't want nothing that is energy derived, that goes against who we are building as kingdom to infect my home. That is so powerful to me. I pray by my address. I pray in the name of my children before the kingdom of the infinite. You want to demand these things. You want to demand abundance. Yeah, look, you want to create a podcast. You want to create a business. You want to be the type of father or mother, whatever. It's a little bit of it just is what it is as far as who you are. Some mothers are fathers, some fathers are mothers. That's just the way life is. But if you're looking to do something, sure, yes, get it all. But also pray for the protection of your family, man, and the abundance, that their level of consciousness is not infiltrated by darkness that they can't emanate light from. Let the dark come. Give them the tools and the resources to bring themselves to light. Let the tough decisions be presented. Prepare them. Have the honest conversations, the deep conversations. There's nothing. One of the things, my daughter, my wife doesn't like it. I ask them to speak their minds. They curse a lot. I accept that. It doesn't sound good. I get it. But I'd rather them speak to me openly and say whatever's on their mind. There's no pick a topic, any topic. I've talked to them already about everything. Sex, yes. You know how hard it is to sit down with your daughter to know she's going through puberty and she's explaining some of the things. There's some things that my daughter and I have spoken about, my son and I have spoken about, my wife, my son, and my daughter have spoken about that I never thought before this transition that I would have the conversation with. I would shut it down. And all you're doing is shutting them down. Then you wonder why when they make a decision, they're stuck in a relationship that they can't get out of because they feel like they can't escape from it. We live like this. We want to front and not see it. The people who are struggling in relationships is somebody's daughter. It's somebody's son. God told you check out. You can't check out. You stay there. You accept the abuse. Why? You provide the abuse. Why? That's somebody's son and somebody's daughter that didn't have the tough conversations. That's my perspective. So my daughter, she's going to look for a day. She's going to look for a man one day who reflects me. Maybe not exactly physically, but reflects my spirit. I want her to come home with a strong man. I don't want no weak man with my daughter. I don't want no adolescent mindset. A weak man. No. I have to show her strength. I have to show her physical strength. I have to show her spiritual strength. I have to show her emotional strength. I absolutely have to show her by how I treat her mother. And what I did before and what I did now, I worried. You talk about regret. You learn all this, you appreciate all this, and then you wonder, what did I already do, yo? Before I awakened to this, I could have crushed their spirit and their consciousness. And it's in there. And one day they might make a decision against what is in the subconscious that I deposited in there by not being present. That's one of the things I work on hard, that if there was something that I put in, that I programmed into their consciousness, that I'm able to override it. That, you talk about regrets. I regret the time I missed. Why? I could have done something that could impact the rest of their life that hasn't happened yet. A decision they make down the road when they're left to make decisions alone. And then they can't save themselves. My son, he might grow up modeling how I love and how I lead. That's the weight. That is the weight. And it's heavy, 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 heavy. I carry it proudly. I pray on it proudly. I worry about it. If I lose years of life from stress, it is about that stress. What did I show them? What am I showing them? What decisions are they going to make, yo? What kind of father will my son be? How can I stress about generational curses? What I've might have lost in the process of consciousness through God and relationship, and then provide the same burden. Think about it. You want to consider fatherly advice that I can try to bestow upon anybody? If anyone and folks, sometimes I think I look younger than I am, right? I'm gonna be 44, but I have a 15 and 12-year-old. There's some people who are in my demographic that have 5 and 2-year-olds, or I meet some parents mid-30s, late 30s, who's younger children. Oh, I'm going through these phases. What do you think, Jeff? Just be there for your child. Really be there. I don't know the answers. Listen. If you listen, you'll find the answers. If you don't listen, you'll reflex an emotional answer. You might break them. You want I point them towards material. I think it's Untangled. Is a book about teenage girls. You might, as a father, you might want to read that to understand. You don't know what it's like for puberty. You don't know what they're going through. Read that book. Process it yourself. If you have a child, period, read that book. Answer honestly what you lacked as a child. Imagine that there were things that we understood we didn't necessarily care for to receive from our parents, and we repeat it. Why? Because my parents did it to me. I always say this: the greatest teachers for me are the people who told me and teach me what not to do. I watch somebody like, ooh, that's not a good thing to do. Don't do that. Thank you for teaching me that. I don't judge it. I just see, oh, that's not the outcome I'm looking for. Then that's the next thing. What's the outcome? What kind of children do you want to raise? I just want productive contributors to society, dog. I want kids who are going to make decisions that impact other people positively, that carry God in their soul, even if it's not the you know, my children and I, we don't talk God explicitly as far as like the book, the church. We did it, we did it when they did go through baptism, and we did do church for a little while. It was a great time because the church does carry an ambiance, but I detached myself from that because I don't follow that model. So I do try to teach God to them, but in my version, and a lot of that too is not to be so dogmatic around the actual word, right? But I do, every time I drop them off, I ask them to walk with God, head high, be strong, have a blessed day. Always, right? Walk with God, walk with God, walk with God. When my son starts a soccer game, run with God. My daughter sing with God. I try to instill those little things because I allowed it to, that all of it is God. And I allow them to start to formulate consciously, right? And I've learned you don't want to over inundate teachings because then they'll just rebel. So you model it, right? You model it. Every time they see me on a phone call, somebody asks my wife, "How you doing?" Blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Thank you, God, I'm alive today. I speak it, I live it, I wear it so that they understand, right? A lot of that too, a lot of the teaching through presence. I had to learn that. A lot of times, instead of shutting them down with a loud, obnoxious tone and demanding that they do what I want them to do. Imagine that. I show them. I show them. There's no denying anymore what I stand for as a father. It took me a long time to understand that. It took me many obstacles. I don't know that if, and I feel unworthy sometimes and uncomfortable that I got a message. I keep saying it. God whispered in my ear, spend more time with your children and your wife. The greatest message, I thanked him today. Thank you. And I always say him, but it's just because it's easier to relate. Thank you for that message. Changed everything about my life. Because if I want to be present for them, I have to be present for myself. I have to reflect a version of me that they can appreciate, that I would want them to see. So it's not about being perfect. It's about being available. The world does not need flawless men. It just needs fathers who show up clean, conscious, and consistent. Let me check the chat. Can you show up clean, conscious, and consistent? So if you're a man out there, every man who is still healing, you don't need to be all the way ready. You just need to be present. So happy Father's Day. Stay in the house, stay in the word, stay in the fight. You own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.